Hello and welcome to LGR. Leo Goes Rogue. I'm Leo, and today we are talking about the Hourglass of Dreams update for Ravenswatch, a game made by Pastech Games, a French developer. The game's on Steam. It's 50% off. If you're listening to this, you probably already play the game. If not, it's such a replayable roguelike. Check it out on Steam. I've gotten so many hours out of this game. It has more than paid for itself. Rather, I've gotten more than my money's worth. So okay, so the Hourglass of Dreams update, we just got that a couple days ago. Add some new quests, add some new areas of interest on the map. uh Overall, it's been, I think, a very good good experience. I really do like the new content. So let's first talk about the Hourglass of Dreams itself. um, this is the main part of this update, and rightfully so, because I think overall I think this is the new meta of the game. I think the Hourglass of Dreams is powerful enough that it's probably worth doing in every single one of your games. Um, and what it is again, just to recap, is when you trigger the boss with before the 18-minute timer ends, you make yourself eligible to get rewards at the beginning of the next map based on how early you have triggered that boss. We have a chart here, and this was posted by Get Clothers on the Pastech Discord. Thank you to him for this. This is really cool. There is a typo on here, by the way, where it says, well, on the left we have the time that you activate the boss. So this is saying that you're activating the boss with more than that much time left, right? So, and then here on this column it's the XP that you're going to earn in Act 1 corresponding to how much time you have left when you activate the boss. This is for Act 2 and 3. They're the same. And then Dream Shards, and then these are magical objects that you're eligible for depending on the respective time. So again, what I was talking about was this looks like a typo. It says 11 if you activate the boss within the 11 to 14 minutes remaining. It says 5,000 to 9,000 experience, which is incorrect. That should probably say 6,000, because you're only looking at about 6,000 or more with more than 14 minutes, meaning you take honestly less than 4 minutes on map 1 or map 2 or 3, for example. So, um, one thing I will say is I think this random column exists because I personally experienced a magical object where I had two commons and then I had a Balor's Eye on there. So that is saying that it is completely random what you could end up with on that given magical object, which, if we're reading this correctly, suggests that you could get two random magical objects as long as you're activating the boss with more than 5 minutes left. And within the 8 to 11 minute time frame, you can also get two. Beyond that, you're changing the loot table a bit, right? So there's pros and cons to each one of these time frames. Personally, I kind of feel like the sweet spot is with 8 or 9 minutes left, so you're spending about half the time on the map that's allotted to you, because you get the choice of two randoms here. You are skipping a rare, you're getting an epic, and you're getting a legendary or cursed magical object. So, and you're in the four chest realm. I honestly feel like it's just better to get your shot at two randoms, because the chances are you're probably going to end up with common objects, but you tend to need more common objects most of the time. Well, you need five common objects to hit your breakpoint, right? And you need four for the rare. So it's situational. It's probably game state dependent, just as with pretty much everything in Ravenswatch. Um, but I do like the idea of getting a guaranteed legendary or cursed object, and then having the chance to get two more. I mean, hey, it's RNG, and sometimes the stars align and you just hit that jackpot. You know, you could end up with a Raven effigy, a Balor's eye, and you know, something else super appealing, like a Hope Diamond or something like that, right? So there you go. This graph is available on the Pastech Discord, but you can also kind of just check it out here. So moving on, the Hourglass of Dreams is really good, and I think it might be worth doing every single map. Now let's talk about overtime, which is kind of the opposite of the Hourglass of Dreams. Now you can spend more time on the map, up to 21 minutes on the map. Um, there is a penalty every second that you're in overtime. The boss is getting stronger, dealing up to 100% more damage and having 100% more health. Well, it's actually not double health, it's just a shield, but effectively it is up to double the health. So once you're in overtime, you can teleport to the boss at any time. I believe you just click on the icon and it automatically activates the boss fight, teleporting to the boss fight. Overtime has some pros, right? We ended up going to the cursed mini boss on map 1, and we needed the extra seconds to finish the boss. And instead of just losing our key and getting teleported to the boss, we ended up dipping, 15 seconds into overtime, killing the boss, collecting our cursed object, and boom, we went to the boss with little to no added danger. So overtime does have a useful place in the game. So do what you will with your time, play the game how you want, have fun. So yeah, overtime's a cool addition. Okay, let's talk about the new quest objectives on the game. Jack and the Beanstalk, great addition to the game. I haven't seen the Stone Quest since they added this patch in. It's probably got a low spawn rate compared to Jack, because I've seen the Beanstalk many times. I've seen the Wood Quest a bit, and I've seen the Hay Quest a bit. But the Stone Quest probably has a lower spawn rate just for people to get more reps on Jack and the Beanstalk. I really like that Jack and the Beanstalk does not have a timer. It's so cool. Thank you, Pastech, for that. Really great addition. We did fight the ogre, which is the boss at the top of the beanstalk, with corrupted on, and we have failed it a couple times. And I again, if I didn't emphasize already, I tend to play multiplayer, although sometimes I play solo as well. We play with corrupted on the majority of the time. So the ogre, while he feels less dangerous than some of the other bosses in the game, the threat for the ogre is that he destroys the health bar of Jack, and Jack dies and you don't get a reward. So the ogre is really a DPS race. So there you go. There's your feedback on that. And then another thing is that they changed the mechanics of the Hay Quest. um the Hay Quest would always leave you in a weird spot. Not always, but oftentimes will leave you in a weird spot where if you found your Hay Quest in your green nodes, you were pretty much guaranteed that one of your green nodes was going to be a Hay Quest. And it always left you in that weird predicament of, do I skip this, or do I just clear it and deal with the fact that I have to come back and clear it again, or do I just skip the Hay Quest altogether because I don't want to deal with this, right? Or you could be like, I'm gonna grab the Hay Quest, I'm gonna go clear the node, I'm gonna turn in the stuff, and I'm just gonna ignore completing the Hay Quest because of XYZ reasons, right? So they change it to now where the monsters will no longer respawn in the Hay Quest nodes if you clear it and then activate the quest. Thank you, Pastech. Great change. I'm probably not the only one who felt like sometimes you just wanted to restart the game if you got a hay quest in your green zone because you knew as soon as you saw that, you're like, oh, I got a hay quest. This is awful. I don't know if I want to play this game out, right? So good change there. Huge win. Huge win. Sinbad on the Rock on map 2. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna say between Sinbad and the Cyclops and Sinbad and the Rock, I think the Cyclops is easier. The Rock had some easy to deal with mechanics, and one of them that was very threatening, where he's dropping lightning all over the map. These lightning circles, they're all over the place, and then he does a giant AoE in the middle that is unavoidable if you're standing in it. It's just like an insta-gib. And there was a couple times where I felt like I was just like there was such a little small amount of room to escape to, and that sucked. I died. So, and then on top of that, he spawns, birds, and oh, everybody knows how, everybody knows about the birds on map 2. So personally, I felt like the Cyclops is just a better experience than the Rock. So that being said, it is what it is, right? It's on the map, and you just deal with it, right? You just deal with it. So next, Mordred in the Crown. It took me multiple games to get Mordred on map 3. He's basically a like a knight boss. What I like about the Mordred fight is that there's no ads that I noticed. I don't remember. I didn't see any ads. I think it's just Mordred himself. Um, he's got some similar mechanics to knights, but he's also got his extra stuff as a boss should. So can't say that I like him better or worse than Arthur. Arthur is familiar. We've all done it a million times, so I probably would prefer Arthur. But with more reps, maybe I change my mind to Mordred. But cool. I did like that Mordred. I think he was just a solo boss, just him, which is kind of nice too, not having to deal with all those skeletons and that tree and etc. etc. So the new activities on the map. I do like that the Leprechaun coin Cauldron edition. I think you should treat this like the books, just like the books. The green one you do during the day. You probably want to withhold doing them until later in the map when you've got more power. So your clear speed is faster, so you're getting more dream shard value. The yellow one and the red one you do at night because the monsters that spawn there are just easier to deal with at night. You'll see things just like spiders, tentacle monsters, summoners, etc., etc. So, yeah, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I do like the Leprechaun Cauldron. I think it's more rewarding, on average in the green and maybe the yellow shard node, depending on how strong you are. I'd say it's probably more rewarding to do the regular red dream shard nodes. With more experience, we'll see, but that's just my initial feelings on that. 3 new maps on Dark Hills. I did like those. Not too much to say about them. Some of them are small, some of them are broad. There's some weird ones where there's monsters that you'll aggro on the way in, but you can technically skip. But you know how monsters are kind of finicky and they pull things. Um, so that one, you know, that's just one of those things you kind of got to figure out if you just want to kill everything or if you want to, save time, etc. I think I've seen all of them on Storm Island. One of them kind of reminds me of like a lava sort of pit. I don't know if that's the right word. It's kind of like this twisting sort of like platform. And then it looks like there's lava below it. Other than that, not much to say about those. I do like that they added some more scenery into the game. Very cool. I've seen a couple of them in Avalon, a couple of the new camps in Avalon. Maybe I've seen all 3. Can't remember for sure, but I know. Anyways, appreciate that the change of scenery. Very cool. Hero improvements, fixes, and balancing. We'll get to that in a moment. No, actually, we'll do that right now because I already touched on the Straw Quest changes, etc. Okay, so hero improvements, fixes, and balancing. I'm gonna say, while I think the majority of the patch has been a big W, big win. Hero improvements, fixes, and balancing, big L. I felt like that past tech insinuated we were getting balance and talent changes for heroes. I think most of the heroes are generally balanced. I don't know if you call them heroes or champions. I played League of Legends, so I think of them as champions. But yeah, like the Scarlet changes for Distant Explosion is like I don't really know how meaningful that is, to be honest. Like honestly, if I wanted to see some Scarlet changes, it probably would have been some talent changes, right? Just like I wanted to see some talent changes for personally, I play a lot of Snow Queen. I wanted to see some changes for Snow Queen talents, right? I think Positive Ace said it well. She's too balanced. It feels like she just I don't know. It feels like she could just use a little more umph, to be honest. A little more umph, a little more pep in her step. But it's still a good champion regardless, hero regardless, right? So, and then some bug fixes. These are mostly bug fixes. Pied Piper, apparently the rat build got some basically the rat build got buffed because they fixed some issues with the damage not being applied properly. So cool. I'm excited for that. I always wanted to play the rat build personally when I play Piper. Um, Aladdin, Wish of Omnipotence. Me and my friends, my team, we tried the omnipotence strategy and recognized that hey, this thing it doesn't seem like it's working right, so we kind of stopped doing that. So I'm looking forward to trying Wish of Omnipotence again, going to the nodes, popping a wish, and just getting that like bloodlust sort of game mechanic if you play World of Warcraft. Um, some of you might consider that heroism, but I'm a longtime horde player. So, but yeah, Wish of Omnipotence, getting that like energy, the cooldown effect and using that to like cut down your camp clearing time seems really interesting. You just go to a camp, pop a wish, go ham, and then get to your next camp, pop another wish, and then Aladdin can just play that money game where it's like, let's get him a hope diamond, let's get him more ways to get money, and just like constantly be popping wishes at camps to improve your clear speed could be a meta strategy, honestly, for like corrupted and corrupt, modifier games because those guys are tanky. They're hard to kill. So, Melocene got some interaction changes with Geppetto's dummies, etc., etc. Um, cool. These are almost uninteresting. I do remember past text specifically saying things like Carmilla's seductive provocation were going to get changed. Maybe those are coming in the future. I was expecting them this patch. They didn't come through, and I feel like it's a big L. It's a huge L. I was like, that was one of the things I was looking forward to the most. Some talent reworks for the characters that I like playing. I'm a Carmilla main. We didn't get it. So disappointed in that. So disappointed in that. Okay, let's talk about Romeo and Juliet real quick. Romeo just honestly buffs and some adjustments. They buffed his secret weapon, stronger at common, even stronger at legendary. It scales up really good. Um, Love Shield uh got bumped up to 4 seconds from two. Although now has a internal cooldown. But overall, I think it's just better for Love Shield, right? Like, who wants to be spamming special constantly for permanent invulnerability? Yeah, it might be fun one time, but like that hearing that sound over and over again, that would get real old real fast. So Panache got a little buff. Thorns got a radius buff. Love Thread. I can't imagine a lot of people were taking that talent, but it did get a buff. More damage per tick and only one less second of ticks. So overall, massive buff to Love Thread. Still, I don't know who's really taking that talent anyways. Okay, so the Juliet nerfs. This is kind of the big balance change that everybody was like, honestly, probably like kind of like, oh, I hope they don't take too much from her. And actually, I'm really pleased with what happened with Juliet. They did take 4 damage off of her base auto attack. Um, it's noticeable, but it doesn't feel terrible either. So I think it was justified, but they also gave her some love in other areas too. So it it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's power neutral, but her early game is definitely a bit weaker. But the trade off is she gets some added benefits to her scaling for her defense build. And they improved a couple of talents as well, such as like Valiant Heart. We'll get to that in a second. Perfect Shot. Um, the getting changed to 50% additional damage from 100% crit chance. I don't know the math, right? The mathematically, at the base, that's exactly the same amount of damage. But as far as like how the scaling works, I'm not really sure how, if it's better. I think if you're really good at perfect shots and you've stacked crit, like you have a bunch of like eternal roses and you're using them before your power, it's probably a buff. I don't know how the math works there, so if you can explain that, you're listening to this and you can explain that, feel free to drop that in the comments. That would be greatly appreciated. I am curious. So, going to the defense changes, I did not know that Ace of Spades did not work with the defense build. Um, so now that the defense build scales with magical objects, I mean, let's be real, she's gonna be even more of a monster. I was full clearing the screen with her defense. It's crazy. So I think that's super cool that they made that adjustment. Great. Awesome. Awesome. So, and again, the attacks triggered by the defense now also proc Ace of Spades and Black Lotus. The Black Lotus I wasn't surprised by, but the Ace of Spades I didn't realize it wasn't doing that. So, cool. Heartbeat. Someone on the Pastech Discord said that within certain ranks of Heartbeat, it's now one-shotting some monsters. So it's actually Heartbeat's act seems like it's probably a really good early game, like map 1, early map 2 sort of talent, where maybe being able to clear some of those little birds which are so obnoxious on map 2. Everybody knows about the birds. So that's cool. But Heartbeat doesn't really scale well into map 3. It gets to a point where you're just probably not using it. Maybe rare cases, right? But and then Valiant Heart. So this one's really a really positive change for Juliet, because at legendary rank, it's now 8 and at 8.75 seconds, up from 7 seconds. That's meaningful because that means you no longer have to get cooldown reduction on your power. The power has a 4-second cooldown. So you at legendary Valiant Heart, you can fit 2 powers in as opposed to 1 from last patch. So that's outright a buff. That's outright a buff. At legendary rank, of course. Passion Dance change. I was full healing, I think, before when I took it. So I'm not really sure about how this change really is. I don't know what the difference between every second versus every tick is. So yeah, I if you know the difference here, drop it in the comments. Let me know. And explosive backstep. A lot of people swear by explosive backstep. It is really strong. I did not like where this specific issue where explosive backstep would trigger instantly if the attack button was already held, because I would like dash, do the auto attack to get the volcanic shots, and then I would hit my power to try and get the power off before the crit expiration, and sometimes it would just explosive backstep me. That was a mechanic that I wasn't particularly fond of, and so I didn't really like explosive backstep. Okay, so um, that being said, yeah, I still think not getting talent changes was kind of an L this patch. Kind of disappointed by that. And I was also hoping that we were going to get some magical object reworks. There was a sort of like an AMA kind of thing where a lot of people gave feedback and Pastech responded to it. I think there were people talking about wanting additional talents, not reworks, but additional talents for heroes. And Pastech was like, we're not really sure about that. That's going to be it's probably going to be a balancing nightmare. So we're not really sure that that's something that we're going to do. But then they said, but people also asked for magical object changes or maybe new magical objects, and that sounds really appealing to us. They sounded more positive about that idea. So I was kind of hoping we get some changes there, but we really didn't. There's more just bug fixes. Real quick about bug fixes. Bleed apparently had some issues, and it looks like this is probably a buff for Bleed where it says it was not getting applied correctly. So that probably means like Bleed should be working properly and more damage. We'll see. Maybe it was doing too much. I don't know. Ignite definitely got nerfed. Fixed an issue where Ignite effects would ignore some enemies' damage reduction. So that's just outright Ignite in general will be doing less damage for you across an entire gameplay. And then Thunder outright got buffed. Says it's impacted by statuses such as Strength and Marked, which is crazy that it wasn't before. And now applies proper critical hits. This is outright a buff for a lot of characters that do dash builds because um, using Vajra, if you have four piece Vajra, you get the lightning effect when you're dashing through stuff. And if you have Eternal Roses, you're going to be getting, you're going to be procking that crit on dash, and then the lightning effect from the four piece Vajra is going to get the benefit of that. So dash builds using Vajra just got better. So Vajra got a buff. And champions that stack like power charges also got a buff because like I think it's like 3 power charges gives you the lightning effect on your power use. So my buddy plays almost exclusively Wukong. It's without a doubt his main, and he just goes power build. He plays, like he's a few states over. So when everyone's connecting to my game, he can't really play the defense build because there's some like quirky net code that's making it not work, his defense build not work properly, can't get the stacks or whatever. So he just plays power, and so he's always getting those thunder charges off the thunder stacks or power stacks. Anyways, um yeah, just quickly to touch anyways, just to quickly touch on magical objects. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see maybe some changes, maybe like a reworked Goldilocks port, or I don't know. I'll have to play with this. I haven't really never enticed to play with this one. Some of these should have better markers, but I did it on like certain, I don't know why they didn't count when I did it on like corrupted versions or whatever. Corruptor versions. Voodoo Doll might have got buffed this patch simply because of taking Voodoo Doll. If you're doing Hourglass of Dreams as your like primary gameplay mode, where you're just like, I'm gonna get like a level or two, I'm gonna rush the boss, and then I'm gonna go um if you take Voodoo Doll, you're outright getting some good damage modifiers against the boss, right? So if you're spending more time in your gameplay fighting the boss, Voodoo Doll is actually better. I don't necessarily think it's great, but I do think it is a strategy. If you get like 5 Voodoo Dolls, that's like what 75% more damage. So you're almost doing double damage to the boss if you get the Voodoo Doll, and then you get the execute on it too, which is okay. That's kind of it's whatever, right? But you get like I don't know. Voodoo Doll is kind of interesting now. It's a little bit better with Hourglass of Dreams. Wanted to see maybe a rework or just a different thing other than things like Unicorn Horn. I think there are some players out there who really like this on certain heroes, maybe like Carmilla or something like that. Queen of Hearts. I guess I don't know who's taking this. I'm sure there are people out there. There are some interesting things with the fairy dust build where you take fairy dust, you take like Dragonhide and Father Time's Hourglass. Like there's a Geppetto game where Herados, content creator for Ravenswatch, does like this Geppetto build where he's like playing low health most of the game. Pretty interesting. So yeah, fairy dust, but it's a very very niche sort of item to take, right? So yeah, that being said, hopefully we get to see some balance changes with the hero talent, some reworks there. We could really use them. Carmilla's seductive provocation is just a god awful talent. I think the Ice Queen one where she shoots the attacks out after using her trait, It's personally, I think it's terrible. Some people like it. I get it. I just don't like its use because I always fire it off into Narnia when I'm like moving around and like using my trait as a defensive or etc etc. So yeah, I would like to see some talent reworks, just to make some talents feel better. So, anyways, that's it for this episode of LGR. Thanks for listening. I'm probably gonna touch on hero specific stuff in the next episode. Um, thanks for listening. Like, follow, subscribe. See you in the next one.